Good Wednesday morning of the 20th week. Let me read this. This is a long gospel, but let me read it to you, and then I'll bring in it. That's the last part that is most controversial in this, but also the most poignant, and one that I share in to some degree. I found being overly personal these days. I'm sorry. Just grateful for the life I've been given, I guess, and it's just so much on my mind. Jesus told his disciples this parable. The kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out at dawn to hire laborers for his vineyard. After agreeing with them for the usual daily wage, he sent them into the vineyard. Going out about 9 o'clock, he saw others standing idle in the marketplace. And he said to them, "You too go into the vineyard, and I will give you what is just." So off they went. And he went out again around noon and around 3 and did likewise. So going out about 5, he found others standing around and said to them, "Why do you stand here idle all day?" They answered, "Because no one will hire us." Say, "You too go into the vineyard." When it was evening, the owner of the vineyard said to his foreman, "Summon the laborers and give them their pay, beginning with the last and ending with the first." When those who had started about 5 o'clock came, each received the usual daily wage. So when the first came, they figured they would get more, but each got the usual wage. And on receiving it, they grumbled against the landlord and said, "These guys worked only an hour, and you made them equal to us, who bore the heat of the day." And he said to one of them, "My friend, I'm not cheating you. Did you not agree with me for the usual daily wage? Take what's yours and go home. What if I wish to give this last one the same as you? Or am I not free to do as I wish with my own money? Are you envious because I'm generous? Thus the last will be first and the first will be last." Of course, talking about the Gentiles. Okay, they're squeezing, and the Jews have been faithful all these time, been in the field, and here comes the Gentiles. Can you imagine Matthew's gospel? Here comes the Gentiles. Johnny come lately, you see? Gentile come lately. But when I taught business ethics at Bellarmine, and I taught it in a grad school, I taught it with the business school. So these were people getting their masters in business, okay? And we had a required ethics course, and I taught it for years myself and a couple of other fellows, Doug Denial, Jim Valone. We were good at what we did, too. See, the head of it was Stanley Zamelka, and he wanted philosophers to teach ethics to his grad students. These are MBA students, okay? So that's how I got there. Anyway, when I would always see, this is called contractual justice, by the way. It isn't unfair if you agree to the contract. If you agree to the contract, that's it. That's where the justice lies. If you agree to work for so much an hour, and that's the contract, then that's what you get per hour. See, it's the way it's called contractual justice. But what the real bottom line here is not whether he's talking about contractual justice, although this is a paradigm case of it. He's talking about the divine generosity. And he's really, in Matthew, telling the Jewish Christians, come on, don't be so mad. Let's get these Gentiles in. Come on. So what if they're coming in at the last minute? You see? So what? Christ is generous with his love. You see? That's what the message is. But you know what? I also think, yes, that's true, but there's also, how can I put it? There is also something extremely special about that. Can I share it with you, I think, pastorally? Some of the most significant pastoral experiences of my life have been when I have anointed the dying, especially, and I mean this, especially for people who have been estranged from the church, the vast parts of their lives. Sometimes they were divorcees, this, that, who knows, who cares, but they were not active in the faith at all. They had deserted it. And yet, as they were dying, for whatever reasons, sometimes the craziest reasons, they asked for me, or they asked to be anointed, but in the real special cases, they actually asked for me. I forget why. It was a nutty reason. Some of it could have been they knew me from the gun club because I was a shooter, or hunting, or fishing, or something very, very peripheral to the moral life, as it were, the religious life, okay? but it bonded me to them. And so they turned to me for the last rites. And I have to say I am still profoundly moved by it. I anointed them. And I buried them. I have the Italian in me saying to them, now that they're in paradise, hey, pals, look out for me. I took care of you. You take care of me now. Hey, you're in paradise now. Make sure I get there. See, that's the Italian in me. I have to say, hey, took care of you. Hey, pal. And there were some cases. There was one guy that, since this is public, it's no big deal. He was, well, whatever. Whatever. Any case, for some reason he heard about me. And I anointed him. I brought him communion until he died. And I had his funeral. And I was so deeply moved by it that I was moved that in the last of his life, the last weeks and months of his life, he came back to the faith. I was just the instrument of it, but he came back to the faith, and he died in the faith. He died in the church. I have no doubt of his redemption, his salvation. None. God would not have wasted that graceful moment. And he was a good guy. He was the Italians call scooch. Guy who fools around. He was a good guy. Rough? Yeah. Rough on the edges? Yeah. But he was a good friend to his family. He took care of his family. And he took care of his friends. What more do you want out of life? Yeah. He was a rough and tough guy. I've seen that in my life, and I've practiced it, and I practice it as a priest. I would say the greatest singular pastoral blessings of my life have been precisely that, to administer to the dying, especially those who had been estranged from the church. Couldn't tell you how many there were. I'm so grateful. Sometimes it's the craziest thing that a person will find comfort in. Sometimes the fact that I'm a hunter, a fisherman, it's nothing to do with the priesthood, but it is something to do with the commonality of humankind. And so people say, I identify with them. I know better, no worse than they are. And they feel it. And hence they trust me. And they're willing to ask me for the graces of redemption. I mean that. I don't know, maybe I'm over personal in these messages this week, but it is the truth. And I think of Christ, look at the good thief. The last minutes. See, Christ redeems him. See, the good thief. See, he dies on the cross with Christ. I think of that. I think of the people who, through the grace of God, and the love of the family, very often it's the love of the family, brings about their final redemption. People who have gone astray from the church, people who have maybe gone astray from their faith. And yet at the very end, they say, I believe. Give me the sacraments. Bring the sacraments, That's the truth. Bring the Eucharist. Bring Holy Communion. They're not going to usually say the Eucharist. They bring me Holy Communion. Yeah, that's the truth. That's what happens if you're in a parish for a long time. And I've been in St. Tim's, St. Mark's Parish for 53 years. You're going to bury an awful lot of people. You're going to baptize, marry them, and bury them. And some will come to you who are estranged. It might have been somebody that I knew as a little kid, now as a grown person, who comes because when he was a little kid in high school or grammar school and high school, you were kind to him. See? Go on the ball field and cheer them on. They trust you. See? God certainly writes straight with many a crooked line, and he uses some people like myself who are anything but pious, maybe to connect to the impious, those who are outside. And you bring them back in. Not because you're smooth, but because you're just like them. You're just as much in need of redemption as they are. So We share each other's redemption in Christ. We go it together.